Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep conversations in the Geekverse. And trust me, when we tear into a subject, we go deep. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Each episode, I'll be talking with one or more creators, authors, illustrators, publishers, or other movers and shakers in games, TV, books, movies, or other areas of the Geekverse. Regular guests include Douglas A. Burton, the author of Faraway Bird, a multi-award-winning historical fiction novel of the Byzantine Empress Theodora. He's also the author of The Heroine's Labyrinth, an alternative story structure to the hero's journey that often occurs in stories with feminine heroes. That structural framework frequently comes up in our analysis of story. Brianna de Silva, she's the director and co-writer of The Cultists, crafty and comedy mockumentary-style web show here on YouTube, and the author of The City of Reckoning, an epic fantasy novel of political intrigue, the ethics of war, and young love. Cameron Pasha is a screenwriter, director, novelist, and was a writer and producer on the series Kings, a producer on NBC's Bionic Woman, and a co-producer and writer for Sleeper Cell. He's also written for the CW series Nikita and Roswell, New Mexico. He's been breaking news from inside Lucasfilm, Disney, and Hollywood. His analysis and commentary have become very popular on YouTube. We regularly meet to discuss and analyze stories, and when we do, we dive into graduate-level seminars on story structure and writing. Come on in and let's go deep. And when I say we're going deep, I mean you'd better bring your hard suit. Other guests have included Lou Anders, the author of the Thrones and Bones fantasy novels Once Upon a Unicorn, the creator and publisher of the Norengard RPG, and the author of Star Wars: A Pirate's Price, the book that explains why the Millennium Falcon is on the planet Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Mark Tassin, the creator of the world of Cultists, head of Mechanical Muse, former director of the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and the head developer of the new Cool Name RPG. Let's see, who else?
Bond. James Bond.
Well, not James Bond. Not yet. Maybe soon, though. But I have interviewed Jamie Stegmaier, the founder of Stonemaier Games, crowdfunder extraordinaire, and publisher of many hit board games like Scythe and Wingspan. Brian Colin, sculptor of the world of Revelo Monster Busts, and the creator of the vast grim dark horror RPG. Ajit George, the Dungeons & Dragons author. We talked about game writing, education, and his contribution to Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft and the development of the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, the commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne and the goddess of death.
Well, actually, that interview got rather spicy, so I think I'd better just keep that one to myself. Kate Wilson, a YouTuber, actress, host, and prolific geek guru who's now working to make a new show dedicated to the world of tabletop gaming a reality. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because it's time to explore the worlds of tabletop gaming, sci-fi, fantasy, and all of geekdom through the eyes of those who are making things happen.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
It's time for Table Talk.
Oh, it is so good to be showing the Table Talk beginning again. It's so good to be showing the Table Talk intro. I do need to update. It's been a long time. I've been saying that for a long time, but man, it has been so long since we have had a Table Talk like this. I mean, we talked to Brianna, but now she's back again. So Brianna is back. We're going to be talking about the Cultists tonight, because we're on Kickstarter right now. And so we're going to be talking about story structure, themes, and everything that we were trying to do with the Cultists. And so please welcome for tonight's stream, Brianna de Silva.
How's it going?
Good evening, Brianna. How are you tonight?
I'm okay, but I'm glad to be here.
I am also okay. I mean, I feel like this has been a very long turn of events to get us to where we are right now. We are doing here, we are here on Kickstarter. There is the link to the Kickstarter page in the description. Let me post that if I can find it. I know I've got it right here. Here it is. I'll post it in the comments as well. Link to the Kickstarter. The Cultist Kickstarter, it's got the RPG on it. It's got shirts that you designed. And also I've converted many of those over to stickers and things like that. So we have put together, I mean, it's probably legitimately too much actually on a Kickstarter page. There's a lot on this Kickstarter page.
Giving people
Probably
all the
too.
things.
But yeah, I know. But we made it all, so I put it all up there to hey, let's go. So the Kickstarter page is there. This is the Cultists RPG, the storybook for Cthulhu's ABCs, which went viral on Facebook. Our shirts, everything like that, and so here we are. Brianna, if you're familiar with the Cultists, Brianna is our co-writer and director. Do you want to tell everyone about yourself, Brianna, and what you're doing? I've got your website up.
Oh my God. I don't know why every time someone says that to me, I like panic inside. I'm like, I don't know who I am. Yeah, I'm a writer and director. I have done a couple short films since doing The Cultist. I also have an epic fantasy novel out called City of Reckoning. And I'm working on And yeah, I also a fun thing I guess to share with the community is that I recently was in my first ever anthology, which I'm very proud of. It's called Rage is My Love Language. It was my first foray into writing romance. So it's very very dark romance. So watch out. Well,
is that on here? How do I find that?
But what's that?
How do I find that? Is that on your page?
I forgot to put it on my website. It's supposed to be on there, but it's not. But there it is.
This one right here.
Yeah, and this is a charity anthology, and all of the proceeds benefit the Trevor Project. So it came out in June during Pride Month, and yeah, mine is the very first story. So I was really proud of that. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it for free on there. And yeah, it's all going to a good cause. Specifically, very good organization that especially is helpful for the trans community. So yeah, but I that was very exciting because sapphic romance is something I'm planning to branch out into, and so this was like a little mini test for me. I feel like I was like applying some of the lessons I've been learning studying the romance genre. But yeah.
Okay, so Rage is My Love. Let me put a link to this. I bet if you look up Rage is My Love Language, that came up. But let me put that in the link. Rage is My Love Language. Put that in the comments right there. So do you have a blurb about what your story is? Is that something?
Oh, mine. Yeah, mine is about a butch werewolf with religious trauma who has to kind of face her past in order to and face her inner monster in order to accept love for the first time. So it's very violent. Most of the stories in here are very violent. So it is very dark. Just got check the trigger warnings and stuff. Just I have to say that to people because these stories go to places, but mine included. But, yeah.
Well, okay. I want to ask you about that, but first, how did you connected with this? How did you get in? Were you invited, or did you apply, or how did you connect?
I applied. Yeah. So this was again, this is like a different kind of community that I've been very involved in lately, but it's just the sapphic writer/reader community online is one that I interact with a lot. And I saw the person who I'm actually not sure how to pronounce her name, Alex LeBruyer. Never actually heard it out loud, but she's the one who organized it, and she posted on there. She was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. Who wants to be a part of it?" So yeah, so I joined in.
Okay. Before I
was like, that's exactly. It's like queer feminine rage. Like this is
queer feminine rage.
It really fits in. I was like, I have to do this.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Okay. But I also want to say you were trying the next major thing you're trying to do is you're trying to fund a short film.
Yeah, so that I still haven't. I go through these periods where in life and creatively as well, where I kind of have a period where I say I'm in the cave and out of the cave. When I'm out of the cave, I'm usually appearing online a lot more. I have a lot more my extrovert energy. Usually, if I'm promoting something or whatever. And then I have periods of time where I go in the cave and I kind of go dark and silent because I'm just like working on stuff and contemplating stuff. I've been quote unquote in the cave for the past month. So I haven't really said all this stuff I need to publicly, but yes, that my fundraiser was not a success. It was very clear within the first week that it was not going to be a success. And there was a bunch of things that I did not do right. So it's a big learning experience, but I'm still making the film. It's a matter of when, not if. So we're going to regroup and there's a lot of strategizing that still remains ahead of me.
Well,
But
yeah.
that's almost
Well, that's
very
right.
much still in progress.
Well, let's not dwell on that.
Yeah.
Because there's learning experiences and so forth that goes on. But
Setbacks.
you have the next. I mean, you're talking about you're going to write some other stories and stuff like that. But for those of us who are following, because I was asked even today, I was on. I'll just put this up right here. I recorded a podcast with the Order of Chaos today, which is a podcast about the occult. Because he had found the cultists and the Cthulhu's ABCs. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not a practitioner of the occult. But we had a fantastic conversation, and I was talking about what you were doing. And
I'm glad actual practitioners of the occult enjoy it. I know an actual Wiccan who loves our show. So
well, right,
Yeah.
I know, and we should definitely talk about that. Because he was. I'll let everybody on the Discord server know and on email as well when this conversation goes up, because he talks mainly. I when he invited me on, the first thing I did was listen to several of his and he talks mainly to practitioners of the occult, that are also on. And I am not one. I'm a non-believer. I do not practice witchcraft or anything like that. But it was so good to hear from that side who appreciated what we had done. But I was saying that I talked to about what you were doing, and I talked to him about the difficulties of promoting the kinds of things that we do. And I talked to him about that because we can be censored when we're trying to advertise things. Maybe we can talk more about that. But we got to get your short film done. That's a major thing that this community has got to do soon. That's a major hurdle. So everybody be aware of that. So rage is my love language. That came, and by the way, and it was because we haven't been on stream, but Brianna, you were very much focused on trying to get this film done. So that's why one of the reasons why we have for like 6 months, like trying.
I was doing pretty much nothing else, and that was part of the problem. I was hyper focusing a lot and taking on too much for myself. But anyway, that's kind of another story.
Well, right, but all of the writing, all of the pre-production. I mean, the writing may have been done by that time, but all of the pre-production stuff like that, like you're ready to go. We just got to get it funded, right?
Mostly. There's still a little bit left to do, but
and maybe a little bit left to do. But mainly, if you had the funding, you could go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we are here. The Cultists right here. This is. I think I put the link here. I put so much on this Kickstarter page, Cultist Kickstarter. We got I'll just go down here. I got the stickers. I got the Elder Sign lapel pins that I got sitting over here. It's time to give away the Cthulhu ABCs, which just took off, which is how a lot of people have found us. 1.5 million views on Facebook, 250,000 views on YouTube. So we're going to put out the book so that you can get the book, the storybook, to have for your children or someone who loves the elder gods, a child that
someone with a childlike heart,
right? Or that too. Yeah. We've been working on the Cultist RPG. We've designed that live online on the Heath Geekverse channel, The Morning Grind, and it is almost done. We've been working on it while the Kickstarter is live. A few other things to go into the book. We were creating characters today, so that is there. We're going to be playing that live online. But let's see, we've got my aunt designed the Cultist coffee and the Witch's Brew logo, which are fantastic. Those are shirts that are on the Kickstarter. We also have those as stickers. But then Brianna made the Hail the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 Young, which I know Mike loves. He's a big fan of that one. The Thank You Mama Shub. And actually on the stream today, he was saying that, I have to get You Can't Summon Cthulhu with Sour Cream and Onion shirt. So yes, that's the major shirt right there. You Can't Summon Cthulhu with Sour Cream and Onion. That one's there. That's basically what's there. We have, 53 backers right now? 53 backers raising $2,279. I appreciate everybody who has come out to do this.
Congrats on the successful Kickstarter.
Well, thank you. So this is done. Like I said, it's a major mental hurdle for me to get over. I've spent a lot of time like relaunching this and putting it out there and spending. So we got one more we'll do a live stream a week from tonight as well, what it actually ends up. It's like, here's Mike right here. Mike says, I think the Black Goat with 1,000 Young t-shirt is underappreciated, and I, for one, intend to get it. So Mike is there for that. So that's what's going on there. Anything else we need to say? I guess not. So we did the live stream last time. We kind of did the watch party. Let's talk about what the mindset was when we went into season 2 and how it differs from season 1 and what we were trying to say with it. Because I was saying that even though, I have a kind of complex relationship with what you're supposed to say, because if you're too heavy-handed with a message, like I don't believe in that. Like, here, this is something that's designed to, tell a message. I think you could definitely watch the Cultists just for enjoyment, just for pleasure. It's not. I don't think there's any kind of heavy-handed message in it, but there are certainly themes and things that I was thinking about as we were making season 1, but also especially season 2, that I think did come through. How about you?
Yeah. On that note about like not wanting to be heavy-handed, that's something that I believe in very strongly as a storyteller. I feel like stories are supposed to start conversation at most. They should never end conversation. So I feel like if you, as a storyteller, are like, here's what I think, and you should think the way I do. I'm like, don't tell stories. Go like write opinion pieces or something. Like storytelling is like you're opening up a conversation. You're interacting with the audience. You'd be like, oh, here's some ideas. What do you think about this? And you give it to them, and then they go and they take it. And so so that's why I like what you're saying, the idea of themes as opposed to messages. Usually if a story has a message, then it's like preachy. But a theme, like every story needs a theme because it needs to have something that it's like oriented around morally and something that makes it like meaningful. I think we create that as human beings, even in something like comedy. And so, I feel like during the season 1, we were kind of in an experimental mode. Like it was very much like a project, like, at least from my end, like you could speak this better, but from my end, it kind of felt like it was like this, oh, what if we did this? And it felt like it was a casual thing that sort of just blossomed. But then when we came to season 2, I think we were a little bit more mindfully being in like storytelling mode. I'm not saying that we weren't storytelling in the first one, but we were kind of like playing with it a little bit more. And I know for me, I just feel like because I knew the characters a little bit more and I'd spent more time with them, I just was naturally inclined to want to like push some of the emotional depth a little bit more just because it was more interesting. I was like, okay, now that we've established who these characters are, let's see what we can do with them and how we can push them. And and that's just those more satisfying, I guess, for me.
Well, right. In season 1, it was definitely experimental. Like what is this? What are we doing? And we had a much clearer direction by the time season 2 came around. You were mentioning, okay, and I had mentioned today with the conversation that I had online.
Oh, sorry, someone's calling. Let me silence this.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Ronnie. I actually kind of have to take this. You talk. I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, okay. All right. Take it. Okay. So, hey, let me welcome everybody here while Brianna is taking this the call she's got. We got BG. We had a lot of people here, which is fantastic. BGD. Good evening. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being here. We got Sable Phoenix here and Robert. Hey, good to see you, Robert. Hey, I know there's been a lot going on in the AI game space. Robert's been heavily involved with that. If you're following us, on Heath's Geekverse and all of that, I'd love to know more about what you think about that because I've been overwhelmed by like news about everything that's going on in that space. Hey, Dave. Good morning. Good morning. Or good evening. What am I doing? It's good evening. Good evening. Great to see you. And Charlie, hey, good evening, Charlie. It's fantastic. And then Aislinn, Cannon. Hope I said that right. Cthulhu Patagon, great to see you. Great to see you this evening. So I did have a conversation today with the what was the Cult of Chaos? What is this? The Order of Chaos. And it was very interesting since I haven't often been in an environment where people are heavily involved in the occult. I'm not, but I'm going to let everybody know we recorded the video. We talked a lot about especially even advertising on YouTube, reaching out with these kinds of things that Brianna and I are both interested in. And I'm gonna let everybody know on Discord and also through email when that arrives. But the Order of Chaos. Okay, yeah, Brianna's back. Okay.
It was my sister, so I was like, her cat is having issues, so I had to make sure everything was okay.
Okay.
But yes.
Well, so I was talking about that. Okay, so we started season 2 with an overall story arc.
Mhm.
So season 2 has a story arc. But what has surprised both of us, like, so we didn't think about this as we were going into it, but as I was talking to the Order of Chaos today, and then other people also in the comments things have said, I know people who are like this. And you said you know people who have said this as well. What's that like?
What's that like? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we didn't go into it trying to design that. When I would say that a lot of the themes that I was thinking about when I was writing this, and Brianna and I are the co-writers of this. She's the director, I'm the producer. When we were writing this, I wasn't thinking about specifically occult kind of people. I was thinking, especially by the time we got to season 2, about geeks in general.
Mm-hmm.
That whatever it is that you love as a geek, whether that is Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Narnia, name your particular fandom, whatever, that you are into, that other people around you are not. That in a way, to me, at least in part, that's what the cultists represent. Okay, they're involved in something that they really enjoy. The rest of the world does not understand that, but they do. And in most cases, they don't care. They're just going to enjoy what it is they enjoy. But this has resonated also with people who are actually part of the occult.
Maybe the overlap is stronger than we think.
Well, maybe. It could be. It could be.
I feel like it's because these characters are like very larger than life and veering on caricatures. And they each, they very solidly, which is like what you often want in this style of comedy, right? Like you want a character that just like fully embodies a certain idea, they fully embody like a certain kind of person, but then like brought to kind of an extreme. And that's what we find funny about it. And so because of that, I imagine that's at least part of the reason why people are like, oh, I know someone like that. Cause it's like, we're, we're embodying like, like common, personality types, I suppose. And there's a variety of them too. And they play off of each other. And maybe that's also like what you're saying too, about the, kinds of people that might be drawn to, or the kinds of personalities that you'll find in like fandoms and like really like people that are just really intensely into something. So maybe that translate to other, to other situations as well. But I imagine it has something to do with the like, just like, okay, everyone knows that, like, hasn't everyone met like a stoner guy who's super chill and and plays an electric guitar? I don't know. It just feels like you feel like you've known someone like that, and yet he's not a caricature. They are still their own people, but they kind of they walk that fine line, which leaves it up to the actors. But all of them were very skilled in order to make it not a caricature. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Well, I can see that, like, as people have said, that kind of thing. Like, I can relate with Mike, for instance, when his, mom is very upset with what he's doing. Like, let's talk about in the context of Dungeons and Dragons and the Satanic Panic. Now, I was a bit too young for the Satanic Panic proper, but I had parents who had been involved in that, and so I was dealing with the residual elements. So, there's that. So I can deal with, okay, I love this thing right here, but the parents are not, down with that. And so what Mike is experiencing is what I experienced in a certain way, that, okay, you're really passionate about something, you really enjoy something, and your mom or dad is just, giving you hell about you're getting involved in something. So I suppose that generalizes, as to whatever it is. I love this. I got friends who love it at school, but for some reason, my parents are just against it. And this is Ashlyn. Okay, welcome, Ashlyn. This is Gaelic. Ashlyn says, "I'm an occultist and geek. That's what brought me here. You are all pawsome." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashlyn.
Ashlyn, thank you very much. Well, I guess that's what I would say. Then the cultists are at their best. Like, what I would describe is what's the most positive message that they're trying to give in the context of a story where most of the physical environment is very negative. I actually don't, do these kinds of things, which is part of the humor of this. And especially we talked about that as we were thinking about season 2, that actually any that we talked about, that anything that's good that happens in the story is something that actually in real life you would not want to have happen. It's inverted like that. But that, okay, these guys are people who all love something and they don't care what the rest of the world thinks. And they just plow forward, and no matter what else, with negative ramifications in the physical world in the show. But those are the show flips this, so those are positives in the world. Like, take for instance, Steve leaving his wife to go live homeless in the park. Okay.
Well, I guess it doesn't really go well for him, does it?
Well, it doesn't even go well for him. But it's kind of portrayed like, okay, what does Steve do? Like, if
but the things that go badly are not because he left his wife; it's because of other reasons.
No, that's true. It's for other reasons. And in the real world, okay, like, don't leave your wife to be homeless in the park to worship some god that probably doesn't exist. But in the context of the story, what are you supposed? This is what I love. This is what I'm doing, and I'm being held back by my family and stuff like that.
He's being true to himself. Yeah,
you're right. And so I got to go, and I have got to do this. That's part of it. Even though, it doesn't go well. Well, okay. Mike asks, okay, so what do you think about this, Brianna? Was there a statement about mental health or illness with Rob in season 2?
I'll let you speak. I'll let you answer for yourself. But for me, I don't know that I was like necessarily trying to make a statement about that. But I did know that, like, I guess there's like a, you could say there's some sort of connection with like fanaticism, but I feel like that's not true, because like you were saying, like all the values are backwards in here. So in this show, being fanatic is a good thing. I know that I wanted to make sure that, like, even though we're doing this in a comedic context, that it was still like handled with respect, I suppose. But yeah, I guess the only thing I'm thinking of at the moment is that idea of community and support, which is what these characters give each other in the context of a cult. And so when Rob is like going off the deep end, no pun intended, they're there to try to support him. But yeah, I don't think that I had anything specifically in mind on that end. What about you?
Well, I don't think there was a statement about mental health or illness, but I mean, madness obviously being a Lovecraftian theme. We didn't really explore that in season 1. So we were trying to explore that in season 2, that Rob is going insane, going mad in the Lovecraftian sense. And that's obviously bad. We brought that, in the real world sense. And we even hinted at this with Rob having a scholarship for chemical engineering, that he actually had this other potential kind of life that he could go and do. But in the context of the show, what do you want Rob to go and do? Is it just go to college and become a chemical engineer? Or is it go jump off the end of the pier of a lake and try to live his best life, with his grandmother under the sea? In the context of the show, it's go jump off that pier, right?
Be true to yourself.
Right. Be true to yourself. Yeah. So that's what's happening here. Even if, Yeah, so I don't think it was definitely incorporating the theme of madness and insanity in the Lovecraftian context. This is what's happening to Rob. He's clearly, no longer perceiving reality very well.
Yeah, which I know to speak on that too. Like that's always in Lovecraft. It's obviously his stories are horror, so it's like that's kind of like the negative ending that you would have. Like a character falls into insanity, and so that again, like it's flipped here. So so we're having things that are seen as negatives, not just in real life, but also in Lovecraft. But here they're positives.
Well, right, the transformation into a deep one in
right.
the shadow over Innsmouth and stuff like that. This is something really horrible that would happen to you, and yet we portrayed it as the highest point of aspiration. This is what I want to happen. Rob is looking in the mirror, and I love the line where it's like, this happens to people who don't want it all the time, hinting at that, just
this is happening constantly.
Yeah, this happens constantly to people who don't want it. It's like this horrific thing for them, but like, I really want this to happen, and for some reason I'm not developing any gills here, or whatever is going on. Speaking of the dropping in, let me I'm gonna remove this. I know I have trouble. Well, okay. Sable says season 2 is fantastic, but there's a certain loopy charm of season 1 that I think makes it eke out season 2 for myself. Oh, interesting.
That's funny.
There can be a charm for there is certainly a charm of season 1. I mean, there's and I've spent a lot of time watching, so there's a lot of charm with season 1. And I found that with a lot of things that I've done that, like, you're like, okay, so for other reasons, this one is objectively better. But then on the other hand, I've encountered some charm. The older stuff has charm, and that's true. I think that's true. Brianna, I was going to bring this up, and like I say, it's very hard to stream stuff apparently, but we haven't gotten to show this right here. So I'm going to do it right here. Speaking of jumping in a lake, okay. Let me see.
Oh no, I think I know what this is.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to share with audio. Okay, there we go. Let's bring this up. Brianna, very hardcore being a director. She, we had this jump in the lake scene, and Brianna was not going to allow Dax to go and do it without having done this herself. So this was out at the park. And so I was like, okay, I got to film this, because she was going to go jump off into the lake where Dax was going to have to do this. And she wasn't going to ask any actor or actress to do anything she had not done. So here we are.
This is how dedicated Brianna, co-writer and director of The Cultists, was to creating our show. In season 2, Rob, played by Dax Rocker, has to jump out into a lake in his attempt to live with his Deep One grandmother under the sea. But Brianna wasn't going to ask an actor to do anything that she wouldn't do herself. So I, Heath, the producer and co-writer of the show, took her out to Oak Mountain a couple of days before the shoot so she could make the jump herself and make sure it was safe. So I had to get that on video. Here she goes.
Grandmother, I'm coming. Oh my God, that's so cold.
Then I had to get her out of there because it was January and the water was very cold. So go, Brianna. And
you remember that?
It was very cold. Yeah. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd have like it's like someone doing that. That's not the director, but we were a very small cast and crew.
Well, I remember we went out there. I was like, okay, I've got to get this on camera. So I was like, okay, here you go. So it was like, give me grandmother, you're coming. And
yeah, I think you told me to do that. Yeah.
And then I was recording with my phone. Here we go. And then you see me put down. It's like, there you go, you jump. And then when you come back and you're like, like I threw it out. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get her out of there.
And I did learn a safety thing too, because I came and climbed back out where I had jumped off, like that little concrete spot, and I like scratched my arms up when I was doing that. So we're like, okay, so we learned something. So we need the actor to actually swim over to the pier area and climb up there where there's like a ladder. I just like was swimming because I was so cold, so I was just like swimming back to the closest I could get to get back out. But yeah, so so it did get some information, useful information out of that.
We did, and then when we were shooting that scene, we also had the park rangers come up and stop us.
I forgot about that.
Do you remember that?
No, remind me what happened.
No, like when we were shooting that scene that day over there on that area, on that pier, we were shooting, and then the Oak Mountain Park Rangers walked up and said, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we'd said, like, apparently you can do whatever you want, but as soon as you have a boom microphone out,
yeah, when
for
you have
some
a boom,
reason, that people take
boom
notice.
And tripods, and especially tripods and boom, like that's when people are like, oh, there's like a real movie over here. And I don't know why it's so funny to me. It's like people associate the boom mic with filmmaking, like in a way that they don't for most of their equipment. I don't know. I guess it's just the weird selective ignorance of the public about film equipment. Like that one is like, oh, that's a film set. It's like, okay, whatever.
Right. So the park rangers came over and stopped us, and we're like, hey, what are you doing? What are you filming, a movie or whatever? And we're like, no, we're just filming the material for the YouTube channel. We showed them the YouTube channel and these kinds of things, and they let us be, but they could have stopped us. It's one of those things, like, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you can't even go out to the state park and shoot some material from YouTube without being harassed by the park rangers, for whatever weird.
They're just making sure we weren't doing something that we needed a permit for that we didn't have a permit for. But we had done the research and everything, so we knew it was going to be fine. But
right. So, but they come over and you got to talk to them, and you've got this. So Mike does say it seems like Mike was concerned about him, I guess him being Rob, but did not know how to help. No, that's true. I mean, so Mike realized Rob was in trouble and he was trying, but did not in the end know how to help. That's true. I would say that's true. It seems to me like the families of those I've treated many years ago, whose families and friends do not know what to do. I would say that's true.
Yeah.
Mike did have, Mike didn't know. I mean, one of the we did try to do very emotional scenes in this one, largely that had to do with Mike and his father. Those were some emotional scenes in here, because Mike doesn't really understand what's wrong with Rob. His father identifies that, and says, "Listen, I think this might have to do with you and the branding and stuff like that," but he still doesn't really know what to do. I think that's a great point, Mike, that, because he goes out and he talks to him a couple of times at the lake, when he jumps in, and then when Rob has got his fish on the leash, which is still one of my favorite scenes, swimming him in the creek. That's still one of my favorite scenes. Mike goes and talks to him and tries to help, but doesn't actually know what to do. I think that's a great point, Mike.
It's tripping me up hearing Mike talk about Mike.
Oh, Mike is talking about Mike. Yeah, well,
that tickles me.
What was it like? Okay, so what is it like being the director when you are trying to do some of these scenes that had more emotional content than we were used to in season 1?
Yeah, it was funny.
How do you do that?
That was, well, it was back then that was like really stretching me, because I didn't really have a lot of skills yet in directing. I'm definitely still working on those. I think a lot of, like, if you're new to directing, that like is so intimidating when you've got something emotional like that, because it's your responsibility to be a support for the actors. And I definitely feel like I did not give. It's like one of my regrets, really, especially with season 2, is I did not feel that I'm maybe the actors would be like, you're being too hard on yourself, but I feel like I didn't support them as well as I would have liked to. And part of that was just inexperience. Like, I didn't really know what to do a lot of times. And that's the scene with where Mike cried. I remember feeling really intimidated by that, where I was just like, oh no, how do I help someone cry? But yeah, I think that now what I would say is, like, what really matters is just that an actor feels really safe with you, and that they know that they have the room to make mistakes and do it imperfectly. and that you're not going to use those takes. That you're going to, give them the room that they need in order to play and explore, and that you'll catch them basically. And there's different things, there's different techniques with that too. Of like, okay, it just kind of depends on what the actor's like school of acting is. Like if they're more of a method actor, if they're more, someone that's like drawing from their personal experiences or whatever. So you have to know what it is, like what the tools are that your actor uses. So then you can like speak their language and kind of help enforce like whatever tools that they're using. But yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Ashlyn says, has there been a cult? That's what Steve is. Steve is in the cult of Nyarlathotep. that was all Steve. That Steve was the cult of Nyarlathotep. So yes, season 2, Steve, he worships Nyarlathotep.
Yes, there is one.
Yes, there was one. So Nyarlathotep has been represented. Okay, so we're talking about the emotional kind of depth with that. Also, what about this is something you talked to me about, but I don't know if we've talked about this on camera yet. Directing non-actors.
Yeah. I can speak to that more. I feel like because
let's talk about that.
I've done more of that since doing the Cultists too. With the directing non-actors, the most important thing you have to do is make sure you're casting someone that is as close personality to your actor as possible, to your character, as possible. So then they don't have to really act; they're just being themselves. So then at that point, you're just trying to make them feel really relaxed, because a lot of people, if you're not comfortable in front of a camera, it's like your personality goes offline. There's something about having a camera in front of you that for most people just make you feel like super self-conscious. It's like having the eyes of like 100 people on you at once. Like you're kind of subconsciously feeling like, oh my God, it's not just the people in the room with me. It's like all the potential people that may see this later. And if you feel kind of overwhelmed. And so as a director, if you're working with an inexperienced actor, you just want to get them out of that headspace. And so there's a lot of like tools and techniques you can use, like exercises basically, that help people, because it's like what you want is for them to just be in the moment, not in their head. You don't want to be up here thinking about, oh, I got to make sure I do this with my face. No. Just want you to like be in the moment and just react to what's happening to you. So hopefully like, you got your lines memorized so you're not thinking about them anymore. And then you can just kind of react to what the other person is doing, even if it's off script. And so that was like for my short film, The King. I had to do that a lot with one of the actors there who's not experienced, with like, just being like, at the end of the day, if you're ever unsure, just be yourself, because that's the director's job, is to make sure you're choosing the right person that can just sort of exist as themselves. So as long as that's covered, and then you can help them feel comfortable so that they're not thinking about the camera, and then the rest kind of does it for itself.
What, when it comes to the Cultists, especially season 2, but it can be any of it, are you most proud of?
The first thing that comes to mind is the scene where they're trying to cast a spell on Steve for the first time. That scene is like my favorite, I feel like, for the whole season. Although it's a close call, which it's a close tie between that and the scenes with both the scenes with Ben and Acantha. They're kind of like two different types of scenes. I loved
those are good scenes.
Yeah, I loved how we did the spell casting scene, because it combines stuff that I personally just love in filmmaking. I'm a big fan of long scenes that have a lot of energy and moving parts. They're just so delightful and fun. Like one of my favorite scenes in season 1 is like
when you're talking about when Steve was like at the trash can.
Yeah, when he has the trash can.
Cast a spell on it.
Okay.
And then I think behind the tree. Yeah.
We wrote really fun dialogue for that scene, and it gave the actors a lot to play with. Like they had a lot of fun doing the scene, and so that comes across, like the energy is there and it was like going at a good pace. And then like we had really good just like camera decisions that our DP made with like we had a lot of setups, but the way that we were able to move between them, like as things were happening, it's just very fun. It just has a lot of energy, and I feel like we got the comedic timing really good. It's a very entertaining scene. And then kind of on the opposite end are the scenes with the scenes with like Acantha when we're going. Those were a little bit more intimate. They were more those were a lot of close-ups, and they were very slow moving, and really got to see both of those characters like get to like I wouldn't say a raw, I guess raw in the case of Ben, but we were seeing a little bit more of the depths of Acantha too, where we're seeing like her compassion for him and these like very, complicated emotions where she's like trying to protect him and help him at the same time, trying to encourage him without, like she doesn't want him to actually kill Ben. I mean, she doesn't want him to actually kill Steve, but she wants him to feel like, feel like he has. So she's like walking that fine balance. And yeah, I thought that those scenes were really beautiful, like the way they were shot, and they really captured the emotions of it as well. So yeah, those are I'm proud of those. I guess that's 3 scenes the most.
There were, yeah, those scenes, yes, with Ben and Acantha that were sitting here, very intimate scenes. You're right, very intimate scenes. I wonder, there was a lot going on with them. I would say when we're talking about pushing ourselves as far as what is going on in any given scene, that was all we got the emotion with Mike and his father and stuff like that. But there was a lot going on with Ben and Acantha.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Acantha's, Ben returns to Acantha a couple of times, and we talked about how, well, they basically lie to him.
Yeah.
And then Acantha when Acantha's caught in the lie, she tries to fix it by lying further, like creating something new, to go forward with. There was a lot there. Yes, I agree. The Acantha and Ben scenes are very iconic in season 2, and yes, are definitely something to be proud of.
Even when we were filming them, I think in both cases it was the pacing. Those are very opposite kinds of pacing for those 2 scenes, and I think we nailed the pacing for both.
Right, because it's very opposite. Right, yeah. We didn't have that kind of thing in season 1. To really slow it down, kind of like that, and then deal with. I mean, we're dealing with an emotional trauma here. We do it in a lighthearted way, but I mean,
grief.
That's what our
trauma,
especially Ben is going through, dealing with grief. Right? Yeah. Character change. You and I talked about that quite a bit, and this would be especially important if it continued throughout this, especially in the character of Ben. Because, when we start out the story in season 1, okay, especially early season 1, especially the first 4 episodes, they're very episodic. They're like skits that go on with these characters, and you're kind of introducing characters and things like that. And mostly you're seeing the world through Mike's eyes, and Mike is Mike is the bridge from the modern world to the cult world, and he's introducing you this. That's kind of the role that he's playing. But as it went on, Rob takes a more central role, but then also so does Ben. And we talked about the importance of character change. That are you seeing some kind of change through the characters? And we especially thought that we don't want there to be some type of, the character is however it is, character state A. Okay. Then there's some type of major change or some kind of major event. There's some kind of major event. Character goes into state B. Or like the worst possible thing is there's some kind of major event and character stays in state A. We did not want that. If there's some kind of major event that happens to them, they need to change in some way, and so they got to go to some other kind of character state. And we talked about how tempting it is if you have something that works, some type of relationship between characters that works in the context of writing something like an episodic story, that, you go through this major transition and then we're going to revert back to the way things were because that was easy to write. We know how to write it, and those kinds of, but that doesn't make for the compelling storytelling. And so you and I were aware as we were writing season 1 to season 2, and as we would go into some kind of season 3, that you never want, as something happens to one of the characters, like Ben, I'm thinking of especially, but also Rob, they can't revert to their earlier selves. They have undergone things that change them irreparably. And that has to be represented in the story. Did that make sense, or was that just a ramble? I don't know.
Characters need to change. Yeah. Well, most of the time.
Yeah. So, like,
unless you have a static character, there's a time and place for that. But
well, I mean, there is a time and place for that. But when you have things like the characters of Ben and Rob, the things that Ben and Rob have gone through, that's what I'm thinking about specifically. Now, it's true for all of them, especially because we were talking about grief and loss. Okay, they have all gone through that. So, thinking that someone, I'll use the word love here, one of your best friends is dead. Okay, that's a big thing for anybody, to have gone through. I mean, they even went to a funeral for him. I mean, they have a funeral for him. So you've got to have that type of sense of loss. But when you think about the relationship between Ben and Rob and what Rob is, the relationship between Ben and Rob, Ben has grown up, has done a lot of growing in season 2, and he has learned to kind of swim, not fly, but swim on his own. He's learned to swim on his own without Rob being there. And so you can't ever return Ben to being the neophyte initiative, wide-eyed student of Rob, because we have shown him go past that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm trying to talk about anyway? I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. We just got a compliment.
Doug is in the chat.
Hey, Doug. You and I just got a stellar compliment.
Hey, Doug.
in a chat that I had to bring your attention to. You'll see it.
Who is it? Oh, TSL Frontman?
Yes. Thank you.
Unrelated 20 appearance today, you two. Well, thank you. I've been experimenting here with
He's been growing hair. I've been
mirror universe. Right. She's been losing hair. I've been trying to add some hair in here. And so we're saying what's going on. Well, okay. So, right. So Dave says this, and this is important that it's hilarious. Dave says it's hilarious that we're talking about character growth of a guy with a Walmart fish taped to his forehead. Yes.
Correct. This is a comedy.
I mean, right. Yeah. Yes. We'll get to have Doug wasn't able to come on the show tonight because he had other responsibilities tonight, but he said he was going to jump in here in the comments and things like this. So maybe Doug, when you have time, we still need to have a conversation about season 2. I don't know if you watched it yet, but we'll have Doug on. It's important to also kind of think about. I'm thinking, what is the comedic element? That you're trying to convey with the show. And of course, and then you've got to play other things straight.
Although never too straight.
Okay, so yes, obviously. Well, in the context of, okay, he's encountered things and now he's changed. Rob has also changed, because we said that Ben has been on his arc. He has changed because he's had to learn how to survive without Rob. Okay. Rob has spiraled into insanity, and then, even to the point where he's going to, effectively commit suicide, whatever, jump into, in his mind, he's jumping into the great ocean to, whatever, and be gone forever. So he's not in a great mental state. He has now gone through whatever those things are. We comedically represented that change through the depicting the scene with Gandalf turning from Gandalf the Grey into Gandalf the White, the resurrection in the Lord of the Rings. But, just as that's a major turning point for Gandalf, that's a major turning point for Rob. And it would have to be as we go forward as well, that, okay, Rob just, leapt off into the water, basically, drowned himself, whatever. We've said, okay, he was gone for 3 days. which is significant,
So many references.
right, has significance and reference. We don't really know what happened to him for those 3 days. I have often actually thought about like some kind of montage in season 2 when he's talking about what happened, and you're like, he's like walking down the street of like, Gulf Shores, Alabama or something, whatever. Like he's, walking or down the street, like, nothing really happened to him, but he's just lost in his own world, sitting down by a dumpster or
Having
something
a
like that.
breakdown is what he's having.
Yeah. What having his breakdown that he is not going to be the same after that. And I do think we represented that in season 2 at the end, that, we said, okay, because we had said when we were writing it, there's delusional Rob, which is like what Rob is for a lot of season 2. He's, jumped in, he's become delusional. But then there's just off the deep end Rob, because it doesn't fix him by jumping off into the lake, or whatever else, that happens to him. He comes back and he is even further off the deep end. It's taken him. So his character also changes, but he is changing in. He's never going to be
negative direction.
Drunk.
Question mark.
What?
I said negative direction? Question mark. Depending on your point of view.
Negative direction, yeah, possibly. I mean, he was never really okay, but there's a lot of like him in season 1 sitting around having coffee with the guys that's kind of upset, dealing with everyday life and whatever, and that won't ever be him again. Things have happened to him that he have taken him an order of magnitude beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So Sable Phoenix says, here's a question: do you have something specific in mind that Rob's haircut represents before he decides to go to the sea?
No, I think that was just an example of his delusion, that like he didn't, like his hair didn't actually look any different, but he thought it did.
Right. Yeah. That scene, don't you understand, Mike? That was based on like, don't you understand? Like, the idea that, oh my God, I finally realized that I have this gigantic brand on the side of my face, and when I go out to the world, and so that's kind of what you're expecting, kind of that, oh my God, Mike, I can't go anywhere. Look what's happened to my face. And then instead he just goes to, no, look, my haircut's wrong. That's just not. So I don't think there was something specific about the haircut. But then he comes in, and then, he has the same reaction to the people at the lake that like, what's wrong with me? Why are you staring at me? And Rob doesn't even register that it might have something to do with his brand and, what he's looking at. It's like, okay, I have a weird haircut. I got a weird haircut. I will say, if you can't see any of these chats, I am simulcasting on the Facebook channel, the Cultist Facebook channel, the Cultists YouTube channel, and the Table Talk YouTube channel. So I've got up on the screen all of the different chats that is unifying all the chats across all the different streams or the different channels. But that could be why you might be on a channel where everybody else is on another channel talking or something like that. That's why up on the screen, I now have the option to show comments on stage, which unifies all of the chats across all of the different streams. But that's why. So if you're not seeing something in your chat, but you are seeing it on the screen, it's probably because they are on a different channel. I think about that scene when you're talking about, because he does say how different things age. Mike actually says, when Mike thinks, oh my God, Rob is upset about the brand, he says something about getting a mask. And in a post-COVID world, and especially kind of the nearer COVID world when this was filmed, and now we had written it before COVID, but when we said mask, I think we were talking about actual mask. Yeah, but in a post-COVID world, Mike says something about, we can get you a mask. That could be like a medical COVID mask. And, in that world, it's like, okay, well, actually, what's something that Rob could do to cover himself up like that if he really was in a COVID world is wear like a medical kind of mask. So that's one of those things that meaning changes as the world changes, right? But we weren't thinking about that at the time. So Brianna, I have a question for you then. So going forward, as far as a career and everything else, like knowing what we've done, and not only the Cultists, but everything you've done since then, what is the next big thing that you really want to accomplish as far as putting on screen goes?
As far as putting on screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be, God, Guardian. I was for some reason about to say The Sacrament, which is the feature film that I've written, and I was switching in my head for a second. But yeah, so it's both of those things basically. Guardian is the short film that we were talking about earlier that I need to fund in order to make, and then The Sacrament is what I would love to make as a horror film, as like a feature film. Who knows? So I will continue to write scripts and continue to move in that direction, and I have no idea what will actually happen. Because a lot of that is outside of my control. But does that answer the question, or were you asking something else more specific?
Well, not exactly. I will rephrase the question, but I will say I've read both of those. I've read The Guardian, which is the short film. So, and I'm on that, and I wrote that, and then also The Sacrament. Brianna and I worked a lot with, and we're also streaming on the Table Talk channel. And Brianna and I have. If you are new here and you're enjoying what Brianna and I are talking about on the Table Talk channel, just look up on YouTube the Table Talk Conversations in the Geekverse. Brianna and I have a lot of discussions about breaking down storytelling because and movies, because we went to a tremendous amount of effort to that as a deliberate study. And Doug, yes, and absolutely, and Doug, a deliberate effort to breaking those things down to study them for our own efforts. But actually, I was thinking more in terms of themes and emotions, like where you want to go, like what is it that like Guardian and Sacrament, like what have you not done on screen that you're like, okay, these two things are bring something that you haven't actually been able to grapple with on screen? Is there something? That may be a deep question. I don't know.
No, that's a really fun question. Because it feels like there's overwhelmingly far more I haven't done than I have done. So it's like, oh, this should be easy to answer, but it's also like, wow, where do I even start? I practiced with the King with like the visual how would you say, the art of visual suspense, and I really just want to push my skills in that further and further and further, and yeah, I just want to really scare people, I guess. Like, that sounds great. But it's such a delicate art too, with evoking fear, and then also the other thing that I care about a lot is like epic storytelling. I started watching a show the other day, and I could barely even finish the pilot. It was supposed to be an epic story, and it was trying so hard, and it's such a turn off to me. I'm just like, why can't you just like pull it back? It needs to be more understated. It will be awesome because of what the story is. You don't have to like overplay it. Anyway, that there's a lot of like delicacy in being able to capture those emotions that I'm just very obsessed with, being able to accomplish that and get that right balance. Like with horror in particular, it's like it's such a delicate balance of being able to keep people in suspense but not rush things too much, and getting that pacing and timing right. And getting under people's skin and getting in their mind. But at the same time, it's really important to me as a storyteller to be character driven, and more than anything to have characters that people can relate to. This is related to our current conversation, that they can connect with and project themselves onto. And I feel like so many of the other things just come from that. Like the story works when the characters work. That's how I feel.
Says, does Bree want to rat out the particular show?
Sure, I guess I can.
Okay.
It was a biblical adaptation of David on Amazon Prime. David King of Kings or something. I can't remember, but it's the Prime produced thing about David, and that's that's like one of my favorite biblical stories. I feel like it's a really cool epic story, and within like 10 minutes I was like, oh, why are you doing it like this? Like, why are you ruining it? Anyway, that was annoying.
I don't. Doug's just thinking about background noise. I don't hear an echo, so
I was hearing a slight one.
Let's see if anybody else says anything about that. Yeah, I feel like I said, I feel like I have gone through like the longest route possible to go and relaunch the show and put this on Kickstarter and all these, the products and the shirts and all of that, and get all these things done. And I want to, so all of my mind right now is on this and getting this done. We got another week on it, and then to wrap up with all of these different products and things like that, which are going to be amazing. But then also I'm excited about moving on to other things. And, I feel like I have done a cycle here because I started off with doing all kinds, doing my thing. And then we send I send all of this material off to other people and got all this kinds of feedback. And Brianna and I, you and I went through this long stage of story analysis and figuring out story structure. And I mean, just this deep kind of thing. And in some way, I feel like I'm back around to, okay, well, I've absorbed all that, but now I still have to do my own thing. So when I'm thinking about when it's time, to bring out the next kind of story after, when the Cultists season 2 was done here, there are definitely things I would love to do if we could do a Cultist season 3 or something else to wrap up the Cultists. I think about that a lot, and there are themes and things that I would say, not the message like you're talking about, but but things to engage with, in the season 3 that I think you and I had done. But then also just other stories that, like, man, there are things that I want to show how I want to do them, and they just have to get out in my way. Eventually it's like, because I was looking at some of the material for Clovis, the Tales of Rabavania Clovis, and one of the reasons I think I had put it aside was because I started to write some things based on other people's suggestions and things, and I just wasn't feeling it. I don't feel like that it, had the right tone. It wasn't right, whatever people. And I'm like, oh, this just all needs to go. This all just needs to be jettisoned. And then I started getting excited about it again. So it's interesting to me. It's interesting that the whole loop that we have been through over these many years. Okay, we're doing our thing. Then, oh no, we got to learn so much. And now I feel like I'm back to, okay, I've learned, but you know what? In the end, it still has to be mine.
Yeah, and you have to follow that like passion that you feel, and that source of intuitive inspiration. You have to be true to that. One of the things that I feel is really important for me when I'm going through a revision process with a story and receiving feedback, is I try to ground myself in remembering what it is that matters most to me about the story. Like, so for me, it's often a moment or a scene. It may be different for different people, but for me, there's something that for me like defines the story. And I'm like, this is like the core of what inspires me about it. And if I lose this, then it's not the story anymore. Then it's something else. And so everything else can change, but this right here has to be here, because this is the thing that is like what I want to say or what I want to express. And I usually define that like really early, like in a story. I'd be like, this moment is what it's all about. And so that's helpful for me, if like, because sometimes it is like really like, oh, you're getting a lot of feedback, and you can get to a point you start to feel like disconnected, and you're like, is this even the story I wanted to tell anymore? So it helps to like define it ahead of time. Like, this is the story I want to tell. This is what inspires me about it. This is what excites me. And then from there, it's a lot easier to like ingest feedback, to be like, okay, well, this is helping me get closer to that goal, that thing that I care about, as opposed to this is taking me away from it. And yeah, I don't know if that's helpful at all. But
well, let me ask you, what are you trying to engage with as a storyteller with themes going forward here, like with these themes and things like that? What drives you? What themes drive you as a storyteller?
That's actually really easy for me to answer, because I've thought about this a lot. For me, it's like the dark side of human nature, and and how we overcome it and how we prevent ourselves from falling into it. That's what drives me the most. A lot of my stories deal with like the integration of the shadow, and there's often a lot of inversion of the thing that you think is evil is actually good, and vice versa, or the thing that is monstrous is actually friendly, and vice versa. And usually with every story I tell, I'm exploring some aspect of like the dark side of human nature. I'm asking like, why do we do evil? And there's like a million answers to that question, because there's a million kinds of evil. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff that really drives me and inspires me most of the time. I guess as I say that, I'm also thinking about my foray into romance, which is something that I'm working on. And I guess that theme isn't really there as much in my romance. I think it's in most other things I write. I think, but it's kind of related. I feel like in romance, I'm primarily drawn to talking about healing and how you can like showing characters. Yeah, to me, that's like what romance is about. It's like characters that have their wounds that are making it so that they can't open themselves up to someone. They can't be intimate with someone. They can't lower down their walls, and they have to grow as a person, and they have to heal from their wounds in order to accept love, in order to be the person that they're meant to be. And that's kind of like what draws me to the genre, is that like that depth that can be there. But yeah, so maybe that's connected in a way, but I guess that is kind of different. And yeah, celebrating desire, which is something that I think I consider sacred and really important to me. Desire is not just like a carnal, like a shallow thing. Like I consider it to be very important that we be true to ourselves and what we desire in life. So yeah.
Those themes come out in Guardian and it's changed so many times. The next film,
The Sacrament. The Sacrament actually kind of captures both of those. It captures the honoring human desire and not being a bad thing, and also dealing with why we do evil things, because it's about purity culture. So obviously it's dealing with both of those things, where purity culture is kind of the monster, very like teen slashery, except it's a monster, well, of sorts. Yeah.
I've given up on people had criticized me previously as I started before this round, getting back to the story about you're writing something that you want to read. I've heard this criticism that you're reading something that you like, or you're writing something that you would like.
Mm-hmm. Some people say that as criticism
instead of writing to a specific audience.
No. Stop you right there. Whoever's saying that does not know what they're talking about. You write what you want to write. Okay. You write what you want to read. and then you are part of the audience that you're writing to. So then you can only know that audience if you're a part of it. Anyway, sorry, I just got impassioned. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I know, I think you're right. So I mean, but I had taken that to heart at sometimes. But yes, I mean, yeah, because that was true. I was like, after I submitted stuff and like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm writing something that I really like to read here. I'm really enjoying this. But then and the people are like, you can't do that. Like, who is your audience here? You are a middle-aged male, and you are writing this and you enjoy reading it. But if you're trying to get your 8-year-old nephew to read it, you don't need, you've got to really put yourself in the position of that 8-year-old nephew. And, and what are you trying, what are you going to say to an 8-year-old? And that is not something that you would write for yourself. So,
both of those can be true at the same time. I think both of those principles can be true at the same time. Because like, yes, you're right.
But I've given up writing.
You know what I'm saying? Your inner 8-year-old.
Well, yes. No, that's what I agree with that. Like, what would I have really loved to have read as an 8-year-old or whatever? I'm giving it that. So, that's the kind of criticism that I have heard them like, okay, I'm giving up on. Okay, you're right. This is fantastic. I love it. As far as I'm concerned, it's fantastic. I love it. I'm not going to limit myself from that, anymore. Like by nature, I am very violent, apparently, and so just just lean into that, and then whatever. Maybe eventually it'll find an audience, but it's not one of those
Yeah,
things.
and I guess there's the balance too of
I'm
like,
working.
if you're writing with the intent of making money, you do also have to write to market. But like you can do both. Like these don't have to be contradictory ideas. So like you're writing to market, but you're also writing. There's so many markets, so you write to the market that you yourself would read and enjoy. If that makes sense, I guess. I like what Doug just said.
What did Doug just say? The art right here.
Mm-hmm.
Doug says the art you create can transcend yourself, but it starts with your passions and interests.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just have come to the conclusion that even after all this study that, well, in the end, it can only be what I want to write, so,
Absolutely.
in the end, that's all it can be. And so I just have to put it out there, and then, well, whatever, if it were all wrong, like if I have misunderstood the archetypical relationship between fathers and sons in this particular story, so be it. Oh well, I just we'll go with it. What we talked about, what are our proudest kinds of things? What are we trying to improve on as we go forward?
Yeah. One of the things that, so after doing the Cultists season 2, I read this book called Directing Actors. I'm actually rereading it right now in anticipation of the next thing I'm going to direct, which was not only like, it didn't only, I'm reading the name of the person's right there. I don't feel like grabbing it. But there's only one book called Directing Actors, and anyone will, who knows about it will know which one I'm talking about. And it was not just like it wasn't just helpful for me as a director. I feel like it was like a life-changing book, because it really changed the way I thought about communicating. Really? Not just communicating with actors, but like communicating like with human beings. It affected like the way I interacted with people at large. And that like what I was saying earlier, where I was like, I feel like I didn't support people as well as I could have. Like it was during reading that book that I realized that there were a lot of times where I just didn't have the skills to support the actors and create the right kind of environment that they needed. And so that's something that going forward is just really important to me, is being able to make sure that I'm speaking actors' language and I'm giving direction that is like rooted in acting principles. Talking, like for example, I love the idea of like talking about intentions, and instead of like playing a movie in your head and then trying to like, you can't like dial them, like a machine. You can't be like, okay, a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. Instead, you're like, what does the character want right now? Or, what is the character trying to get out of this other character? And it's just thinking about it in terms of like what's going on inside, and goals and things like that. That was just so like eye-opening. And so I really want to prioritize more of that. And I just want to continue to improve in that aspect of directing, which is like the most important, the most important part, because every other part of filmmaking has a different like head of department that's in charge of it. But when it comes to actors, like it's just the director. Like there's nobody else there to direct that. So I really want to.
That's interesting. Say more about speaking the actor's language, because that's very interesting that you're talking about that the actor director relationship is the most immediate, and that's that you're on set. The director has a lot of responsibilities in production, whatever. But when it comes to production, you are talking about a very direct relationship between the director and the actors, which is extremely important for how the work is going to come out. So talk about speaking their language. What do they want to hear?
Well, I can give an example. There was a time I remember on set where Peter plays Mike. He said to me, he was like, he said something like, I'm kind of struggling with this part. I'm getting in my head a lot. I didn't know what he meant until later. I was like, oh, that's like an actor's term. Like if you're saying I'm in my head, that means I'm having a hard time being like rooted and grounded. I'm like thinking about it instead, because you're not supposed to think about it. You're just supposed to be, and you're supposed to be able to, just kind of react on a moment to moment basis. Like every take in theory is going to be different, right? Because you're just being like, you're reacting. And yeah, and then also, so that's like one, like an example where I didn't really support him in the way I needed to in that moment, because I didn't actually understand what was he was communicating to me. And then another example would be like intentions. I was talking about intentions of like how let's say you have a repeating, like, let's say a character is like they're trying to get something out of. I'll give an example of a scene. Remember how Mike is trying to convince Bella to give him his robe, and he's trying these different techniques. Like that would be an example of a scene where you might have different intentions, where it's like, okay, the first time he does this, and he's trying to he has this particular goal with her, and then, okay, that didn't work, so now I'm trying this, and you don't want to, like, it shouldn't feel like each time the character has the same goal, like they're repeating themselves or whatever. And so that's the kind of thing that like actors are thinking about a lot, because it's the kind of thing that they will like practice and when they're taking classes, or if they're reading books about acting, where it's like you don't want to like give the same note in a repetitive way. And so you're thinking about constantly, like, what is the character trying to achieve right now? What do I want from this person? And how am I going to go about getting it? And so being able, that's like, those are the kinds of things actors are thinking about. And so if you know that as a director, then you can give ideas, especially if they're stuck, or if it's not going the way that you want it to go as a director. You can be like, oh, what if we tried this intention? Or what if it was like this? And also, like, it's important to give it as like a thing to play with. It's not like, it must be like this, because it's not like acting is this, it's this very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not, it's not like a machine. Like I was saying, you can't just like dial it and be like, I want it to be slightly happier, slightly sad. That's not how it works. That's not how human emotions work. That's another thing, is you can't prescribe an emotion. You can't tell them, okay, you should feel this on this line. That literally is not how human emotions work. The actor doesn't know what emotions they're going to feel. They'll feel it when it happens. And so, yeah, so it's important to be like, to be able to kind of like give it like, oh, well, here's the thing we could play with. Like, what if it was like this? What if it was like, what if the goal was like this? What if the objective was this? Or like, there's an example that book gives where it's like someone's chopping vegetables, and it's like they're doing it as if like they're punishing the vegetables. Like using these kinds of strong verbs is a helpful way to communicate in actor's language as well. And so, yeah, what's important for me now is like when I'm breaking down a script, is I want to have for every single moment and within every single scene, lots of ideas for directions, hopefully 10 times as much as I'll ever need. So that when you're in the scene, when you're directing in the moment, you don't have to come up with it. You just look at your list. You'll be like, oh, here, let me try this. And you don't have to like, hopefully you think as hard, because when you're on set, there's a lot going on. So that's part of the process for preparing. And that was not something that I really understood while I was doing the Cultists. Because I was just, I didn't yet have that knowledge or those skills as a director. And so that's something that I really prioritize now. But yeah, that book, here, I'll grab it. It's Judith something. It's really, really good.
Yeah, okay. This is the on directing or something?
It's this one.
Oh, directing actors.
Hey,
retro.
That's funny. I said, I'm glad I grabbed it because I said the wrong thing. On Directing is a different book. There's actually multiple books called On Directing now that I think about it. But Directing Actors by Judith Weston. No, on
Directing Actors. Who is the author? This is Directing Actors by who?
Judith Weston. It's a very influential book. Super, super, like, it's like one of the highest rated ones to read for directors, I would say. She's saying the pitfalls of result-based direction is what this book is like trying to help people avoid.
Brett says, good evening, crew. I'm ready for Cultist Season 3. But then also, look who's here with us as well. Retro Nerd Girl is also watching. Hey, Retro. Great to see you. Retro says, glad to catch this live, loving what little of the conversation I'm hearing so far. It has been a great conversation. It has been a great conversation so far. And probably we can wrap up here soon. We've been going for near an hour and a half, but in this, what did we learn? We talked about things we loved, things that we want to do differently, but like What did we learn from doing this? Like you said, I never went to film school. I was talking about this earlier today as well. You didn't go to film school. So in a certain sense, we talked about the Cultists being our film school. Doing this was, I would say in conjunction with all the conversations we've had on Table Talk, that was kind of like going to film school, and as far as analyzing the story, analyzing all of that, and then also the practical aspects of producing a show and all of that. I mean, what did we learn from all of this?
Oh, you go first. I've been talking for a while.
I mean, I would say the logistics. When we're talking about the reality of trying to do a physical scripted production like this, it's a lot that a lot of people, for completely obvious reasons, don't understand. As far as the logistics of producing something, I mean, a lot of people, for completely understandable reasons, will say, "Oh, I didn't know." I'll see these comments in the behind the scenes videos that we did on the channel, and people will say, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how big a production this was." And it is a small production. It is definitely a small production. I mean, this was a small amateur production, much better in season 2, but in both cases, it's a small but that is still a big production as far as things go, and everything that has to happen.
Underestimate, how much is involved in film.
Right. Yes. People absolutely underestimate what is involved in doing something like the Cultists, especially season 2, especially if there were a further season about what it would be and what we all want it to be if it were to go forward. That it would be an order of magnitude beyond what season 2 was, in order to make it happen. And people don't recognize that. So from the producer perspective, you're like, okay, how do you get all of that off the ground? We learned and became proficient with, and I could do it even better a third time. I could do it even, just because of what I've learned. What matters, what doesn't matter. There are things that we did, especially even from the perspective of the videos that were produced on YouTube. When I'm thinking about when I do this again for a different franchise, different IP, would I do what I did for the Cultists? Well, I would not. I did much more for the Cultists than I would probably ever do again in the future. So there's the production of actually what does it take to get the stories done, learn that, become more efficient with it, will be even more efficient in the future, but also even what do you produce? There are so many, there are a lot of videos on the Cultist channel, many of which are never even watched by people. So if you're watching, hey, go to the Cultist channel and watch, the Brianna's got her director's commentary. I've got producer's commentary. There's a lot of videos that were produced beyond just the stories for that I'm glad I made, because the Cultist was something very special, that we came together and we did. And so when I look back at this and I see all the things on the channel and, the behind the scenes videos and things like that, I'm very glad that we have. Would I do that again the next time I do this for another world? No, I would not. Those are lessons learned. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like it was really the thing that I came away with was basically realizing that I didn't know how to speak to actors. Like, I didn't know how to speak their language, and I felt that gap. And so that was why I went and read this, and I spent a bunch of time trying to improve those skills and apply that also in the short films that I did after that. I feel like that was my main thing was there were these moments, specific moments where I was like, I feel like I didn't do what I needed to do here. And I could sense, I really sense, it was there's this moment. I remember when it hit me, it was we were filming the exorcism scene. And I remember I had this moment where I was just it hit me how much more I still have to learn as a director. So we were having some sort of problem, and I froze up and didn't know what to do. It's kind of embarrassing to admit. I was just wow, like in order for me to fully understand how to solve this problem right now, I would have needed to have more experience doing this than I currently have. It was like this, like it was just like it like clicked in my head. I'm like, I need to do this and do this and do this and do this. I need to do a lot of this, and there's like a lot of growth still ahead of me, like a tremendous amount. It was almost like a moment where I went past. You know, people talk about the what's that called? It's actually been disproven. It's not really a real thing, but but we talk about it all the time still in pop culture. The peak where like you feel like you know more until you learn enough, and then you come to a moment where you realize you need to have a whole bunch more to learn. What do you call that?
I could have called it until you just called it out.
I know, right? I erased it from your brain too. You know what I'm talking about, though. I feel like I had that moment during the Cultists where I was like, oh, I have all that still to learn. I have all that still to practice. And so that was like the big thing coming away from that, would just be like, I need to do a lot more of this. Which is also
Dunning-Kruger,
right? So Dunning-Kruger is kind of a misunderstood pop culture, as me being a nerd, I guess, but it doesn't exactly exist in the way that we think it does, but it kind of does. It's kind of become like a pop culture idea that like sometimes you're overly confident in the earlier stages of learning something, and then you get to this page where you have a dip in confidence, kind of a humbling, where you start to realize how much more you don't know. And so, yeah, I had that while filming the exorcism scene in season 2. But that always excites me when I have that moment, because I love learning things. It's like one of the things that makes me feel happy about being alive and being in the world. I deeply love the experience of learning. So when I'm starting something new and I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to learn, like it like fills me with like excitement. So it's not a bad thing at all.
There is outline.
Very important for me to like.
But and also I would, I would say when you were directing, you were responsible for a lot of the casting. You did the.
I did the casting.
The reels.
I did the casting.
You did the casting. You did the casting. Some of it in person, a lot of it in person. Some of it was done over the online through digital means, but most of it was done physically. People showed up to the library for us to cast. But so there are definitely things that you have to do that you did in pre-production, like casting. Okay. And then there are responsibilities in post-production, after the editor has made the pass and whatever like that. And there are responsibilities that you had after we had wrapped on any day, which was to watch all the dailies. Everybody went home, we wrapped, and then you, me, and Brennan would watch the dailies and watch everything we had shot that day. And then you tagged bloopers. If there was a blooper that got tagged, that could become part of the blooper reels that we have on the channel. But then also like which take of what needs to be actually in as the first pass, that's what needs to happen. So there are a lot of responsibilities that you have, but the most important, like from the producer, like there's a certain time when we start shooting on a day, when we stop shooting. Okay. To the wrap. Okay. And then after the wrap, you're going to look at the dailies or whatever. But when I'm thinking about this, it's complicated, but the only thing that should be on your mind from, okay, we're on set now until we wrap, is working with those actors.
Not the only thing,
there's
but
anything that goes.
It's the primary thing. Yeah.
Well, if there's anything else that's going on that's distracting you from that, getting the best performance from the actors. Yeah. Something is going wrong on the upper level.
Yeah.
And you're not worried about lunch.
Yes. Yeah. So I shouldn't have to worry about those things. Yeah. And it's something I'm trying to get better about too, because this is one of the things that I really messed up. So to use it. Well, I guess I can use the F-bomb here or whatever, but I'm really messed up with like my latest project, because it's just like a habit, because I've just done so much of indie productions where there's so few people to fulfill the roles. So you're like taking on a lot of roles. I was taking on a lot of those kinds of roles, producer roles, which I shouldn't have done, didn't work out. But yeah, it's like, so I have to, in order for the director to succeed, it's important that there are other members of the team that understand what the director needs to do to succeed and can support the director in that too. So like, having for example, a fun little trick, because sometimes I've read this in multiple books, that like a lot of, especially in like big productions, people don't always understand actors. Like they don't understand like that process that I was describing like a small amount of earlier. And sometimes they don't respect that, especially like because some film sets are very macho-y. You know, it's a lot of like people, you know, it's a lot of like, it's kind of a like the crew is usually pretty male dominated, and they don't get the like touchy-feely like acting side of it. And there's like, okay, we got all the lights set up. All right, let's go. It's like, I'm still working with the actors. Sometimes to make that work, especially if you have like a producer that also doesn't understand, is you can have like a trick, like a code word with a DP. That's something like, you know, like you have some way to let the DP know that you need like, okay, I need like 5-10 minutes more with the actors. So the DP is like, oh yeah, we need to go fix those lights over there. So they like make up something that, you know, it's a way to like cover you. And so obviously it's best if you don't have to pretend, but it's helpful if there are other people that understand that, so that you can make sure that all those things happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't know if I interrupted you again.
No, it didn't at all. No, it didn't at all. Well, I think this is a very productive conversation. And like I said, I'm very interested in, you know, we're going to conclude this Kickstarter in the next week in the best possible way that we can. The Cultists is out there. We're promoting it, trying to get it out there as best we can. There are issues with promoting it through YouTube because of YouTube's policies. YouTube is kind of doesn't allow me to advertise it. But Facebook at the moment has. I'm experimenting different ways to allow Facebook to allow me to advertise the Cultists and try to get more people, get more visibility for the show. But on the same time, I think that I know you, me, Doug as well. You know, we have grown a lot. And it's time to move forward again. And I think we're all ready to make the next jump beyond this. And like all of us have got different ideas about what is the next major thing that has got to happen. And I'm very excited about that. I want that to happen for us all. You know?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of thinking as I've been in the cave about priorities and making sure that I'm more balanced in how I spend my time, balanced in, you know, the different things that I'm pursuing. And one of the things that I'm also trying to prioritize more is my writing, like novels, and my not safe for work stories I write on the side under a different pen name. I'm trying to like have a regular schedule for those things. That's what I'm working on for the rest of the year, because I really just want to be, I have all this head knowledge about self-publishing and how to do that as a business and how to like make a living off of that. And I don't have books. I have one book. I don't have enough books to apply the knowledge, which my pen name has been a lot helping me to practice a lot of those skills. Because I'm producing stuff a lot faster there. But yeah, that's something that is important to me too. Is just like, I really want to increase my output when it comes to novels. And yeah, so there's a lot of changes that are going to be coming soon on that end, some of which will be public. Most of it is just how I'm spending my time privately. Yeah, so definitely changes afoot.
Yes. I hear you. I've been breaking that down too. I was like, so much of everything I have to do has to do with getting words written and then also minutes of video produced. You know, because there are things I want to do. And I'm looking at this and I was looking at it and I was going, you know, if I don't get a certain number of words written per day and a certain number of minutes produced of video per day, I won't be able to do what I want to do because I'll be dead. Like actually, literally, like that. Like there's actually a limit to the number of like heartbeats I have left in my life, and the amount of words I want to write and minutes of video to produce. And if I don't do that, I'll just die and it won't be done, and that won't be okay. So I'm definitely having to look at that. You know, like that's so after this Kickstarter, I'm definitely thinking about it in terms of that. like okay, how do I have to operate? How do I have to, you know, approach, you know, everything I'm trying to do in order to accomplish it before I'm dead? So, hey, Bridge the Divide says, going to have to watch the show now. Seems to have the last Lovecraft feel to it. I hope you do go and watch it. Yeah, there is the Cultist season 1. Just look up the Cultist season 1 on this channel, and then the Cultist season 2, and there's a playlist for both of them. The Cultist season 1, I put up the whole mashup, so you can watch that in one single video. But then the Cultist season 2, there is a playlist. You just hit the playlist, and it'll take you all through it. There are end credit scenes in the Cultist season 2, so you want to watch the seasons, and be sure to watch the after credit scenes of some of the episodes. All right. What else do we need to say, Brianna? Is there anything else that needs to be said before we go?
I guess Cthulhu Fhtagn, it's kind of obligatory.
Cthulhu Fhtagn. All right. Cthulhu Fhtagn. Yes, please do come by. This is here we go. I'll put it up right here. Oh, we had somebody else come by. Wait, hold on. Let me take let me share screen. We did have somebody else come by. There we go. We now have 54 backers. We're at $2,346. So there you go. 6 days to go. We will end this live. This is going to end at like 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So like 1 week minus 1 hour. I'm going to be live streaming when it ends. So if you have enjoyed this and you are all about it, then please do come by the Kickstarter link. I'm going to put the Kickstarter link in the comments. It's in the description, but I'm going to put the Kickstarter link right there. Please do come by. We've got the role-playing game. We've got the Cthulhu ABCs book. We've got shirts that Brianna designed. We've got lots of stuff in there. That's where you need to be if you're enjoying it. There's even a $5 pledge level. If you just want to be a friend of the cult, if you're watching this, come by, pledge $5. I'll give you a toast at the end of the live stream in a week. At the end, I will give you a toast, and then we'll wrap this up because I'm very excited about it. I mean, it's been a massive journey to get to this point. And, I do think of it that, most people, we want to make movies and we want to do all that, but most people are not even able to get to this point. So doing the Cultist season 1 and season 2 has been a massive accomplishment. It absolutely is. Most people never even get to do that. And we did.
100%.
And that's a
100%.
big deal. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will be live streaming again on Sunday morning on the Heath's Geekverse channel for the morning grind. I may be doing some other live streaming. We've got some other things to do, but I know that I'll be live streaming on Sunday on Heath's Geekverse channel on Sunday. And then 1 week from tonight, we will wrap up this Kickstarter campaign, and I will do it live on stream. And so it will be right here. Thank you so much for coming in, Brianna. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate not only you being here tonight, but also everything you've done to make this show a reality. It's been huge.
Oh, thank you so much for
being
allowing me to be part of it. It's been super important to me as well.
All right. Let's wrap it up. So I will see everybody. Everybody have a fantastic evening. Please do like the stream wherever you're watching it. Subscribe wherever you're watching it. I will see everybody for sure live on Sunday. But let's get this done. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I've really enjoyed it.